So today, June 18th, 2022, it's Sir Paul McCartney's 80th birthday. And I've got a friend of mine here. We're going to have a little chat. This is Tyrone Butcher from Texas, y'all.
Thank you, Joe. I want to kind of reminisce on a great experience that I had, one of many that I've had fortunate enough to live through. But back in 1979, I was visiting with my brother. My brother and his family were living in London in an area called Clapham North. And it turned out that in the last 2 or 3 years that they'd been living there, Linda, my sister-in-law, and her little niece, Nicole, Xochitl Nicole, had spent a lot of time with Paul and Linda McCartney and became their Rose Girls. It's fabulous. So Linda had all mapped out everywhere during the course of a day when Paul and Linda were in London. My Linda knew where they'd be driving past and everything else. So she had her corners picked out. And it was kind of a fun thing that we used to do. But I got a chance to meet with Paul and Linda at EMI International, EMI Studios, there on Abbey Road. It's fantastic. And what was so really great is how real Paul and Linda, how real of people they are. And it was just a great experience. Tying along with this experience of meeting Paul and Linda on several occasions, as a matter of fact, we went to a little town outside of London called Hindley. Hindley is where George Harrison has his place called Friar Park. And it's a beautiful, large, about a 60-acre estate, 3 entrances. There's a gatehouse in each entrance, which are big rock homes. They're not little cottages. But in the center is a beautiful big castle. And I felt that George would be there because that same weekend, Ravi Shankar was playing the Smithsonian, and he was playing there that weekend. So I mentioned to Linda, chances are, Ravi Shankar being here, George and them will be at his home. So we took a train ride to Hindley, and we spent some time in front of the main gatehouse, around the main gate, hoping that we're going to maybe as fans see George come out or in. And it was unique because out comes in a Land Rover, out comes George's brother. So he was telling us, look, y'all hang around. You're welcome to hang around. George went out to buy a new car, but he'll be driving through. So it turned out that a few minutes later, here come 2 Porsche, beautiful cars, and they drive up, and George was in the lead car, driving the lead car. Well, Linda, my sister-in-law, was no stranger to George and Paul and John and Ringo. She was one of the Apple Scruggs.
Yeah.
Very well known. These are 4 young girls that hung out in front of Apple Corporation for a couple of years. They were there day and night, diehards. They were there right there with the Beatles day and night. So George and my sister-in-law, they got to reminiscing, and we could understand the circumstances. George had a very personal friend. They had a very private situation going with Ravi Shankar. But he was very gracious. So we didn't get the opportunity to spend a lot of time with George. I was hoping, of course, to go in and be there in the castle. But, you don't always get what you want. But the brief visit was really wonderful. Great, great experience. So I wanted to share that with Joe here, my brother, and maybe you folks. It was just a nice experience. So I'm going to turn it over here to Joe.
Well, how was McCartney? As a guy? You met him.
Well, I can tell you this. One afternoon, when we had spent some time at EMI Studios with Paul and Linda, and when we got home, my Linda, my sister-in-law, was telling me, Tyrone, you don't realize it because you're excited, which I was. Every time I got around Paul, it was, it was unreal. To me, it was unreal. But Paul would get into his Texas accent, and he'd be conversing with me in a Texas accent. It just kind of showed you what, this is a person who enjoys life, enjoys being with people, and it was just a great situation. I didn't snap until Linda told me that night what was going on, and it just blew my mind. It was fantastic. But as a person, and Miss Linda McCartney, they were just very thoughtful. They're fantastic. And so to me, I can understand why the Beatles were the Beatles. They were personable people. Paul was fantastic. Linda was fantastic. Hey, long live the Beatles.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Tyrone. But before you go, just tell us a little bit. You actually did an album with Willie Nelson, right?
Well, I was very fortunate to spend several years with Willie and the family at many of the shows that he did. And it took a while, but at that time I was very close to many of the local San Antonio musicians who had already risen to their star status over the years. But I was with J.R. Chadwell, the godfather of Texas swing. You folks out there all remember the great Cotton Eye Joe. Well, J.R. on 5-string fiddle recorded the Cotton Eye Joe back in 1938. So as the years went on, he was recognized by a lot of the top, mostly country musicians, as the godfather of Texas swing. Bob Wills was a godfather of Western swing. And so I was able to spend some time, about 3 or 4 years with Willie and the family. And at one point, we got some of the we got Doug Soms together with Augie Myers, of course, J.R. Chadwell, and the great Jackie King, a left-handed jazz guitarist that was unbelievable, and several other top-notch musicians, all well-known at the time, especially within the musical world. And I helped co-produce an album, J.R. Chadwell and Friends. Willie played on it, Willie sang on it. Great experience to be around these, incredible musicians. Johnny Gimble was our fiddle player. Johnny Gimble at that time, over a stretch of, I'm just going to say around 18 years, 14 years, he was Instrumentalist of the Year in the Country Awards. I mean, he was always getting the Instrumentalist of the Year. Beautiful man, great musician, and so I was very fortunate to be part of that album. And it's kind of a highlight in my life, and so I guess I'm bragging again, but Joe started it, not me. Here we go.
Tyrone Butcher, everybody. Thanks for joining us.